Hey guys, Jason here. In this video, I'm going to share with you the gear that you need for recording death metal vocals. Alright guys, we're going to dive right in and I'm going to share with you the 6 pieces of equipment that I feel that you need for recording death metal vocals. And I'm talking about quality death metal vocals here. Now, I will give you a few options on most of the items. We'll cover the lesser expensive route, but I'm also going to share some ideas if you have more of a budget to spend in your studio. I'm going to recommend some items for that might be a little bit more pricey. But either way, let's dive right in and let's record some death metal vocals. The first and most important thing you need is obviously the microphone. Now, I'm going to share 2 options for mics, and both work really well for this style of vocals, the death metal vocals. The first one I'm going to recommend, and this is probably the more expensive one, is the good old Shure SM7B. Now, if you've been in the death metal world long enough, you're probably already familiar with this mic. This is like the culprit of death metal mics. It's just built for death metal. You know, I don't know all the ins and outs and semantics. I just know that it sounds really good, and it's been used on countless death metal and other genres, subgenres of metal records. So this is worth it if your budget will allow. Definitely pick up the Shure SM7B microphone. You will not be disappointed. Now, if your budget does not allow a mic in this price range, my first piece of advice, and I have 2 pieces, my first piece of advice to you would be find one used. Probably save $150, maybe $200. My second piece of advice, if you need to go with just a cheaper mic, is just use the good old Shure SM57. I think this will do just fine for death metal vocals. There are going to be some things you need to go with this mic to get the quality and to kind of cut out some of the nuances, but we're going to go over those as well. The second item on the list for recording death metal vocals, and actually just a couple items in one here. One is your mic stand. Now, it's kind of obvious you have to have a mic stand in the studio to sing, but what I want to point out here is don't get a cheap, crappy stand, guys. I mean, you don't have to spend a ton of money on a mic stand, but at least get something that's going to be sturdy, that's not wobbly, and that's not going to have the tendency to fall over when you put all your mic and equipment on it. So make sure you get something that's quality. Just read reviews. Go to Amazon or Sweetwater or just anywhere and just make sure you read reviews. Make sure you do your due diligence and do the research and get a good sturdy mic stand. Now with that also, I'm kind of lumping this in, number 2, are the mic cables, the XLR cables. I'm going to say get 2, and you're going to find out why a couple pieces of gear from now that I'll talk about. But you know, get good quality mic cables, XLR cables. Don't get the cheapest thing out there. Remember, your vocal tracks, they're only going to be as good as your weakest link. And if you don't have the proper gear, well, you're not going to get the proper sound. So I encourage you to spend a little bit more money on the mic cables and make sure you get good quality mic cables. Again, just, you know, read some reviews on some cables that are out there. Like even the expensive mic cables, they're not going to break the bank. So it's worth getting good cables. Alright, now for the third piece of gear for recording death metal vocals, and this is a very crucial part of recording vocals in general, and I'm going to give you 2 types of filters that you really need to use when you're recording death metal vocals. The first is very, very cheap. It's this little pop filter here. It like cuts out all the P's and all that crap that can come through, especially when recording death metal vocals. So this is definitely worth getting. I think I paid like 14 bucks for this thing. So the second type of filter is this thing right here. This is called a Reflections filter. I think this one's from, SE Electronics, and this is called Reflections, or Reflexions, like with an X in there or something like that. Anyway, just look it up. But this is like an isolation filter, and this is perfect if you don't have a treated room. I'm in like a small 10 by 11 bedroom for my studio here, and it's not treated, so this thing just comes in really, really handy. It cuts out a lot of the noise, the background noise and sounds that would bounce off the walls and that sort of thing. So it's relatively inexpensive. I think I paid like $100 for this at the time, so I definitely recommend investing in this type of filter. I know there are other brands and other types out there. So this filter, the Reflections filter, and the pop filter, a must. Now the fourth piece of gear that I recommend you getting, and there's a little bit of controversy on whether you have to have this or not, but it's this little bitty blue box called the Cloudlifter. It lifts clouds. I don't think it actually does that. But anyway, I didn't really know a lot about this little box, but it was just recommended that I get it. And I've tried recording vocals without it. I probably will never record vocals without it. And it's especially good paired with the SM7B microphone. And if you're going with even a lesser expensive microphone like the SM57, you're certainly going to need it. So this kind of controls your gain. And it also cuts out a lot of the unnecessary and unwanted noise that you get from recording vocals. I can tell you, since I've been using this thing, there's like no unwanted noise at all in my vocal tracks. Now, that's probably a combination of the filters I use and this and just some of the other components that, you know, make sure that we have a quality vocal recording. But yeah, this is definitely a go-to, especially for recording, you know, with the SM7B microphone and the style of vocals that we're doing here. It's real simple though. You just plug the one end. Let's see, where's the microphone end at? You plug one end in here, plug the microphone in here from your mic, like that, and then the other end, and this is why you need two XLR cables, the other end goes directly into your preamp, which we're about to get to. The fifth piece of gear that you need for recording death metal vocals is a preamp. Now, I'm not going to get too fancy here, and I'm going to give you two different options. I'm going to give you, of course, the cheaper option, and I'm going to give you another option on top of that if you want to spend a little bit more money, if you have that in the budget. So the least expensive option is just go with a high quality yet very inexpensive interface. And this is what I recorded my first 3 albums with. Granted, I didn't record vocals, those were just instrumental only albums, but I ran my guitars and bass through this little thing right here, and it's the Presonus AudioBox USB. I think at the time I purchased this, it was like $100. So super cheap. You know, you can definitely invest $100 into, you know, a decent quality interface. Now, your preamps that are in this interface, they're not the greatest in the world, but they're not bad either. And for recording death metal vocals, you can get by with this thing. Now, if you have it in the budget to upgrade, and this is what I did about 6 months ago, I actually picked up a little bit better, well, a lot better interface, and it's from Presonus. It's their Quantum 2. And the reason I did this is because I wanted better preamps. Because remember, the quality of your vocals or the quality of anything you're recording is only going to be as good as the weakest link in your studio chain. So I wanted better preamps, and also the Quantum 2 from Presonus has the Thunderbolt connectivity. You can see I use the iMac here, and you know that calls for less latency. And your interface, you're going to use that for your other instruments as well, your guitars, your bass tracks, whatever, whether you're plugging in direct or miking an amp or anything like that. So, you know, guys, I do recommend getting a, you know, if you can afford it, getting a higher quality interface. But again, if you can't, if you don't have the budget for it, you know, there's really nice interfaces out there for $100, and that will do just fine for recording death metal vocals. The last piece of equipment, wait, I can't hear you. There we go. The last piece of equipment for recording death metal vocals is going to be a good set of headphones. Now, the reason you need headphones, kind of obvious here, but you have to hear what you're singing and hear what you're singing to, the music, but you don't want to pick up that music through the monitors. You don't want to pick up that noise in your microphone. So what you want is an isolated vocal track. So I recommend getting a, you know, a good quality set of headphones. But like a lot of the other pieces of gear, you know, you can go the lesser expensive route. I think these headphones, these are the KRK KNS 6400. They're decent headphones, and they're doing the job for right now. Of course, you can go more expensive, but I think these things were only like $100, you know, at the time I purchased. So not that expensive, and it's very, very reasonable to pick up. But you do need headphones. Just make sure they're quality, and read reviews, guys. Read reviews on the products that you're looking at. I know you guys probably do all that anyway, but you know, people, especially in our community, in our metal music community, we're very, very quick to give honest reviews on these things. So definitely do your research and make sure you get a good quality pair of headphones that's suited for recording vocals, specifically death metal vocals. So guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video of my gear needed for recording death metal vocals. Now, I only covered the hardware in this video. I will do a separate video covering the software and effects and any plugins that you need for recording death metal vocals. If you have any questions or comments, please leave those in the comment section. I always try to answer all you guys back. Also, don't forget to check out the links in the YouTube description of this video. You'll see links to go to my website, and that's where you can listen and purchase my albums and music, and I have some merch as well. Always thank you guys for your support on that, and until the next video, keep it metal.